Welcome to the Laws of Business podcast. Here, we will share the skills you need to make your business a success. Learn about goal setting, productivity, time management, marketing, and much more. Hear inspiring stories with today's best business leaders and join a hub of thousands of passionate entrepreneurs across the world. And now, here's your host, Jamil Jama.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Law of Business podcast. I'm your host, Jamil Jama, and today we have a real special guest, Joel Razi Lutfiyya. Joel Razi Lutfiyya is a serial entrepreneur that started his first business at the age of 12, selling candy bars to friends during the school day. Joel's first real business was a marketing agency that was started with a college friend at the age of 21 to raise beer money for the weekends. After a couple of years service in small local retail and professional businesses, the marketing duo decided it was time to play in the big leagues and grew the agency from small potatoes to a full-service multi-million-dollar operation. Following 7 years of growth and many adventures together, Joel and his partner decided it was time to enter new phases of their lives and sold the agency. Now Joel is refocusing his energies to help new entrepreneurs start their dream business and existing small businesses to build growth, reputation, and evangelism for their brand. It's a great pleasure to welcome Joel Razi Lutfiyya. How's it going, Joel?
Hey, Jamil. How you doing, man? Thank you so much for having me.
It's a real pleasure to have you, Joel. And Joel, I want to thank you so much for taking your time out to do this interview.
Yeah, no problem. I love doing interviews.
That's awesome, Joel. So, Joel, today I'm going to be interviewing you about business startup, entrepreneurship, small business growth strategies, business operations, and marketing, which is your expertise. You're the founder of Small Business Growth, which is a marketing, operations, and business startup agency. It's an agency or coaching.
This is actually more, I would call myself a consultant more than a coach. Those terms are pretty interchangeable, but I always call myself consultant.
That's great, Joel. So, Joel, the first question I got for you, Joel, is how do you overcome age discrimination and inexperience and imposter syndrome when starting a business?
Well, Jamil, I'll tell you how I did it. Because like you said in the intro, I started my first, real technical legal business at the age of 21. And the way that I overcame age discrimination is, for the most part, I didn't even realize that I was overcoming it at first. I just didn't think about it until somebody brought it up. And then And number one, it takes kind of a ballsy person to bring it up. And Jamil, I'm sorry, I should have asked this in the pre-interview. Can I curse or is there no cursing? Try to keep it clean.
Try to keep it clean because on the podcast I put clean.
Okay, all right, sorry. Anyway, so like I said, you have to be pretty ballsy to tell somebody, well, we're not going to hire you because you're too young, when we're sitting in the same room together. And on the rare occasion that would happen, that they'd actually tell me, it was an opportunity for me to explain, well, yes, I am young. I do appear inexperienced, but that also means that I'm bringing you absolutely fresh ideas. In the marketing world, it's all about what's fresh, what's new, what's on the cutting edge. And that's really what I was able to bring whenever, we would walk into, some of these big corporations that we were starting to work with, right after college. After a couple years of running the agency, we really started to go after, the Anheuser-Busch's of the world, the Enterprise Rent-A-Cars of the world, a lot of the local major companies in the St. Louis market. So I would say, to overcome age discrimination is just be ready for that confrontation, and have, I don't know, you can come up with witty comebacks. You can come up with just a rationale for why they should trust you, for being, even though you're young. And then I would say, as far as the imposter syndrome is concerned, we are all self-conscious. Everybody is self-conscious. The greatest actors and actresses of the world a lot of times don't even like to watch themselves on the screen because that's how self-conscious they are. But you just have to get over it and just face your fears and just push forward. Does that explain it, Jamil?
It definitely does, Joel. Thank you so much. And Joe, after you sold your agency, how do you transition from owner to employee after somebody sells their business?
Well, I'll tell you, it was not as easy as one would think. Going from being the boss to being an employee is not a very fun ride. So after we sold the agency, my partner actually was able to leave the agency. He went out west and started to do his own thing. And he actually works at a game, a video game design agency right now, smaller firm. That's what he really wanted to do. Even whenever we started the agency in college, that was kind of his dream. But going back to becoming an employee, you have to relearn and recircuit your brain in a lot of ways. You have to take a step back and say to yourself, okay, I'm no longer the person in charge. It's not my responsibility now to go and make sure that everybody's doing their job correctly and make sure that the business is running correctly. Now that takes a lot of restraint and discipline, especially the first, I'd say, year or so, because every few months we would normally go through an evaluation of how the business is doing, how's our billing, how's our payments, how are our vendors treating us, and how are we treating them. I was no longer in those conversations for the most part. I was basically a hired hand. My role was to smile, be friendly with the clients that the new ownership didn't have relationships with. Basically it was my job to be the transition team. And I had to do it almost by myself in a lot of ways. We did keep a few of the people from the old regime to the new regime, but it was definitely a struggle. My biggest advice is take a step back, take a vacation, go and recircuit your brain and say to yourself, okay, now it is time to, become, the employee again. Swallow your pride and I learned this the hard way. Keep your mouth shut for the most part.
And Joel, you started entrepreneurship when you was 12 years old, but you started your first real business when you was 21, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what are the first steps new entrepreneurs should take to start a business?
So if you're not talking about, selling candy bars in school, and you're talking about putting together a real product or service that you want to take to the open market, one of the first things that you should do is really you have to make sure that the product or service has a market. You have to validate it, and you can do this much simpler today than you could even whenever we started, back in 2006. The Internet of Things has really changed in the last, a little over a decade now. So if you want to start a new business, one of the first steps that you should take is validating the idea. All right. It's so much easier to validate a business idea today than it was back in 2006. Keep in mind, back in 2006, Facebook was around, but it didn't have 1 or 2 billion people on it at that time. It was strictly for college kids and I think maybe high school kids at that point. So the way I would validate the business today is I would go and set up a one-page website, call it a landing page because that's pretty much what it is, all right, whatever your product or service is. And on the landing page say, hey, if you're interested in this product or service, give me your email, kind of list all the benefits and do all that good stuff on the landing page. And then go out, start a Facebook page, which is free, and then do a small Facebook ad campaign. Maybe, $10 a day for 7 to 10 days. All right. You'll spend $70 to $100 on it. It's not that big of a deal. So go out there, run a Facebook ad campaign, send traffic to this landing page that describes your product or service. And if you get let's just say you're running it for 7 days. All right. If I'm spending $10 a day and I'm doing my, I'm I've picked the right audience on Facebook, I'm probably going to get anywhere between, I don't know, 20 to 30,000 views. All right. In that 7 days, possibly more, just depends. But of 20 or 30,000, if I get, maybe let's say anywhere between 500 and 1,000 emails, then guess what? I got a really good idea for a product or service. All right. That would be my very first step. And then after that, it would be, setting up a corporation if you need, if you want to do that, really, really fleshing out all the product ideas and kind of going through the steps from there. Does that answer your question on the very first steps?
It definitely does, Joel. And Joel, what type of growth strategies are helping small businesses today?
So whenever people think growth, they always say to themselves, okay, growth, awesome. I have to get more sales. That means I have to find more customers. That means I have to get in front of more people. That means I have to advertise. Well, that may not necessarily be true. Growth is pretty much more money in your pocket. Okay. Would you agree with that, Jamil?
Yeah. No,
okay.
no.
So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page here. All right. So what I would do is before you start focusing on going out and finding this massive audience that, that's going to come in and make you a multi-millionaire, billionaire. What I would do is look internally, okay, and say, what am I spending my money on within the business? Where am I spending money where I don't need to be spending money? Are my overhead costs too high? Are my supplies too high? If you're selling a physical product, is my manufacturing cost too high? Look at all these factors. Okay, that would be where I start to grow my business, because the easiest way to grow your revenues, or I'm sorry, not revenues, easiest way to grow your profits. I'm sorry. Easiest way to grow your profit is to find where money's leaking from your business today. All right. Now that's where operational efficiencies come in. Okay. Making sure that you're not, wasting money on, I don't know, a cell phone that, a cell phone package that, you're paying for unlimited data and you're really only using like 2 gigs a month, I mean, I know it sounds hard to believe, but that happens. Then after you figure out all of your internal costs and make sure that all your internal costs are in line and you're not wasting money internally, then you start going outward and you say, okay, how can I find new people? Which, again, going back to Facebook ads, it's hot. It's kind of the buzz thing right now. Instagram, that's becoming, that's huge right now. And mind you, all this is very low cost. You can get into the more traditional media, whether it be TV or, radio. Believe it or not, radio is not completely dead yet. It's still out there. It's still working for certain businesses. But TV, you can always do web banners, just anything to bring in new customers. And then that's your outward approach. But I would definitely start with the inward approach. Make sure that all of your internal costs are aligned and make sure that your business isn't bleeding money somewhere.
That's great, Joel. And Joel, if anybody wanted to contact you to learn more on how to grow their business, where can they contact you?
So they can go to my website at joelrazi.com. That's JOELRAZI.com. And actually, I have a special offer just for your guests. Okay, so I sell low cost ebooks, and there's also some freebies on my website. Feel free to go and look at the website. There's a tab on there or a page that says freebies, and then I also have some products that will help you get your business started, help you grow your business, and I'm constantly adding new material. So be sure you keep coming back over time. But for your listeners, I actually have a special giveaway that I usually sell I usually charge, I think, $15 for an ebook. I'm actually giving this away. It's called Guide to Referral Marketing. All right. What this is going to do is it's going to take your current contact list and actually go through an exercise to brainstorm all of your current contacts and turn them into a quote unquote salespeople. All right.
Basically, referrals, basically.
Exactly.
They get referrals from you.
Exactly. So they can actually get this by going to joelrazi.com/LOB. All right. joelrazi.com/LOB. Basically, for law of business, LOB.
That's awesome, Joel. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, no problem.
And Joel, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. It was an awesome interview.
Yeah, Jamil, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
And I want to thank all the listeners for tuning in. And I'm Jamil Jama. This is the Law of Business podcast. And that was Joel Razi Lutfiyya. Thank you all very much for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Laws of Business podcast. Find out more about us on thelawsofbusiness.com. Thank you for being a part of our journey.